Bună ziua, doamnelor și domnilor! Suntem la un nou episod al podcastului Prepare for Future, aici în studioul Agora. Eu sunt Alex Gurdila și alături de mine am un om care a venit de peste mări și țări să ne învețe pe noi să facem storytelling. Episodul o să fie în engleză, de aceea vă previn de pe acum. Sper că o să vă placă, pentru că este, din discuția preliminară pe care am avut-o până acum, am impresia că deja o să fie foarte, foarte interesant. Și așa că fac acum switch-ul la limba engleză. Today we will explore the trends and innovations shaping the world of entertainment. And we have a special guest who is an expert in the field of storytelling. We'll be discussing the future of storytelling and how it's evolving to meet the changing needs and the preferences of audience. Lilia Kim is here today. Hi, welcome to Prepare for Future.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting this. I know you're here on a very busy trip. You're trying to teach a lot of people about the meaning and the uses for storytelling, right? Because we kind of are starting to tap our feet into what storytelling is, right?
This is
in Moldova, I mean.
is people doing storytelling all the time, from the very beginning till the very end. Through all our lives, we use the stories to deliver different sorts of experience, to explain our choices, to make sense out of our life experience. So people consistently telling stories to each other and to themselves about everything. But there is a program between American Embassy and the Media Core Center of Creative Technologies, and also between the State University, about Creative Speakers Program. Different people from United States, they keep come to Moldova and do this series of lectures about game design, about, like, my topic is storytelling in general. Because I have pretty extended experience on making book series, TV series, after work with the movie development, and I never saw myself as a storytelling educator, and still surprised about that. And it's pure act of randomness and coincidence when I was invited to Moldova with this program, because several years ago I married a guy from Moldova in California.
Oh, you are? Okay.
My husband, Sergey, he's a data scientist, and he works in California. He's a tech guy. And through him, I was introduced to Moldova, and I met with people from Media Core, because Moldova is a very, very nice and cozy country where everyone knows everybody.
And that's what you want when you're in this business. I wanted to say that I really appreciate your mărțișor, and I hope you know the story of it.
A little bit, yeah. I was introduced to that.
I'm still wondering when Hollywood will pick up our legends and stories from this part of the world, starting with the mărțișor and ending with all the fairy tales that we have.
The very reason because I was invited to Moldova, because United States and some other Western countries, they are very interested to introduce Moldovan culture to the world, because Moldova is still undiscovered gem. And whatever happens in Napa Valley in California, it's also possible to repeat it in Moldova. Different movie festivals, like jazz festivals, music festivals, modern art festivals, during the wine season. That sounds cozy. Like, that sounds like something that people would like to visit. And that is the plan, to make Moldova
great again. I had to make that joke. If you don't mind, I know it's a very complicated question, but what actually makes a particular story or storyteller worth turning into? Is there like a bullet point list for this?
That's up to audience, because you can address to your own experience with storytelling in different times of your life. When you experience different stuff, you are naturally prone to be attentive and tune into different type of stories. Like when you're young and you're concerned about some relationship questions, you are naturally interested in stories about relationship. When you're older and you start to worry about different existential questions, you are naturally tuned into the stories about existential questions, which could deliver you some answers or experience or interesting point of view or some solutions. that's up to the audience. We are naturally interested in the stories which somehow reflect our own inner agendas. If we are concerned about relationship, we are prone to be attentive to the stories which are about relationships, about different specifics of relationship. If we are in the progress of dating, we are put attention to the stories about dating. If we are already in the process of divorce, so we are interested in the stories about divorces.
So it's basically projecting what you're going through. That's what attracts you to a story.
Because through the evolution, our brain was shaped to be wired to the stories. And before we got all this cool digital media stuff, before we got television, TikTok, podcasts, stories were the main vessel to deliver human experience to the tribe. And that's why we are reacting to this certain structure of a story, and story is supposed to deliver role model, solution, and some interesting social context. There are 4 essential elements of the story, and without those elements, we cannot accept this thing as a story. Like, that's supposed to be a character, that's supposed to be a conflict, that's supposed to be a social context, and that's supposed to be a change. And if we do not have all these 4 C's, that's not the story for us. That is just a fun fact.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. But so this basically means that the audience always dictates where a storytelling
No, not
should
necessarily, because the audience is pretty wide. The audience is a wide variety of very different people. And
actually, sorry for interrupting. That's what you're right, because at the same time, we kind of had a explosion of sci-fi storytelling going on since, I guess, the first Iron Man-ish, right? Because they tried to make sci-fi movies. It was once in a few years type thing. It wouldn't ever catch until the industry was like, you know what? Let's do this thing.
Sci-fi always was one of the most popular genres. It's always just with the development of visual effects, it became much more impressive. Because sci-fi movies right now, you cannot tell the difference between like artificial character or human-like character. You cannot actually... We actually don't need an actors anymore.
Yeah.
So they can recreate any dead people. They can create any creature.
It's like you're trying to negotiate with an actor, and he's like, "No, okay, then we'll just make you."
Yeah. you cannot. You cannot make people who are still alive and kind of own their appearances, but you can.
You're not allowed to, but you can. That's the thing, right?
You can, but that still goes with a lot of liability.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in that part of the world, right?
Yeah.
Where everything is a liability.
Yeah, everything is a liability in America, yeah.
So the boundaries between entertainment and reality are kind of becoming more blurred, right?
It always was blurred.
Okay.
Because when you were a student, you love some of your professors because they delivered their information in better stories. They knew how to engage you, and which is more important, they feel kind of obliged to engage you and to deliver your messages and get you educated through the edutainment. Yeah, so they knew that you need to feel some emotions about the stuff and you need to be passionate about the stuff, because otherwise you're not going to remember that. It always was kind of blurred, but now we actually sometimes we cannot tell the difference between fiction and reality, and with all new technical possibilities that's become, it always was problematic about, all these experiments about false memories, that our memory is more like Wikipedia page. We can edit it, but other people can do it too.
Yeah.
That's always been a problem with the stories, but with all current modern possibilities about the tech stuff, that's become like a real problem, like a really big problem.
So how do we address that?
Mostly we fail.
Basically means we're learning how to, yeah?
Yeah, so it's a work in progress.
Okay, but I don't know, I'm just trying to go on a limb. Should we like regulate this stuff? Should we make all these kind of warnings before, telling a story?
That is a huge social dilemma and social movement, and a lot of fuss about this topic in America currently right now. How we helped the gin get out from the bottle. Now, how we gonna deal with that? How we gonna deal with the consequences of our own technological process?
Because I like Reddit. I go on Reddit a lot. It's a good place. At the same time, you do notice a lot of people get lost in this. They build themselves a story. They think they live it. They think everyone else does. So you're kind of dreaming, right? You what is it called? Dream walking, right? Through life, because you have all these, I guess, centers of stories. Starting with what's it called? Oh my God, the QAnon thing, right? It's a story. Someone came up with a story.
Or GameStop.
Yeah, and now it's a huge thing that's influencing millions and millions of people.
Yeah,
even though the stories are ridiculous, people still believe it.
Yeah, that is probably the biggest problem for our generation, because you can address this ability of humans' mind in a different ways. There is a lot of strengths in our ability to believe. Like if we have some belief, the facts are secondary. Like if we have some belief, we prone to put everything into this narrative, and whatever contradicts this narrative, we kind of reject that.
Okay.
So that can provide us some benefits. Like if someone strongly believes that he must do some art or he must be an engineer. Like my husband had a strong belief that he want to be a tech guy, but that days there were no any developed tech industry in Moldova. So his belief brought him in California without money, and now he has a story of a pure American dream. So that's very, very inspirational story, which is my husband have and has, and that's from one hand it gives us a lot of strength, but from other hand that's the very same thing makes us very vulnerable to the different manipulations, and sometimes those manipulations, they are harmful, and that is definitely a very, very big question, how we're going to deal with it, how we're going to regulate that, and how we will teach people to protect themselves from harmful and toxic influences.
It's like, you know what, people? No more stories for you. You're on a story break for a month. See how you deal with it. It makes sense though, right? Because right now, everywhere you go, Instagram, Facebook, movies, running a business, everyone tells you to have a story. So we're basically walking writers.
Yeah, that's. I was about to say that that's not possible to take any story detox, because whatever decision we would like to make, like let's say you need to buy a present for your friend or for your relative, and you cannot make a decision without telling yourself a story. Okay, I am a person who has this sort of relationship with that person, and that person likes this, and that. And you can make an experiment how often you are accurate in your story about other people which you have in your head. Like how often you are accurate with your presence.
How would you test that? Because people are lying to you, right? Even if they don't like the gift, they're like, this is a very nice gift. Thank you. Where's the receipt for exchange?
mainly we can tell.
Okay.
If they like, or if they... Or next year we discover our present in a box, which this.
Thank you for your gift. Here's it back.
Yeah. Present circulation.
Oh my God! You said the box, and I remember that horrible movie with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. What's in the box?
Seven.
Yeah.
Seven. That's a brilliant movie.
Ever since I saw that movie, every time I hear the word box or what's in the box, I immediately think of that.
So you got traumatized.
Completely. But since we have so many areas where we can collect data, right? There's technical data that you can collect automatically, you know, from like cookies and stuff from websites, all the way to focus groups and surveys. How can all of this data help storytellers deliver a better story?
Oh, this is extremely helpful because it all started with television series. Mainly my experience is strictly connected to the television series. And before, they were writers, the writers' room, and producers. And producers from the network will keep telling writers, oh, our audience need this, our audience need that. And with social media, those problems are disappeared because now you directly know what your audience like, what your audience not like, and what your audience would like to see. And now audiences has a direct possibility to participate in the creation of their favorite stories. Like any fandom right now has a direct connection with a creative team, and creative team is very attentive to.
So they listen. Let's say Mandalorian, right? Do they listen to what the fans say?
Absolutely.
Online?
It was created that was a co-creation with the fandom. Whatever was done about Star Wars, that is the result of co-creation between creators and the fandom.
Okay. That makes sense. Because at the same time, you have something like Rings of Power, who is very not well received by the audience, mainly because they split so far away from all the stories that Tolkien created, which they could have just, filmed them, right? Like, you have all this stuff. Why don't you just film it? Because it's got approval of the audience for 100 years. And then you go on and you make something else. And everyone's like, what the hell is this crap?
Yeah.
That's not Tolkien.
So this is the lesson. Yeah. Do not upset the fandom.
Because, they were forced to remove reviews. And they, it's visually stunning, right? It looks amazing. All this, the effects they put into it. I think most of the money they spent was on the effects, if I'm not mistaken. But like, if you look at the story, you have one of the strongest beings in the universe who is portrayed as a teenage angry girl. And you're like, wait a minute, 20 years ago, we have this Lord of the Rings movie where she's like godlike and all serious and stuff. And now you have this teenage girl who is the leader of the armies of the human beings and elves. And then it was like, yeah, whatever. She's just grumpy. So like the story itself was ridiculously stupid. And I am a big Lord of the Rings fan. And they hurt my feelings. Yeah,
like they certainly did.
I hope you didn't work on that.
No, I didn't.
Okay. So let's consider a future where cinematic experiences are participatory, like we were just talking about, right? And you interact with the narratives, but you actually get to select it, How would that look like? Is it actually in the works already?
It's already very interactive. So if we're talking about perspectives, what we're going to see in the next 15, 20 years, that's going to become more and more and more interactive. The most quickly developed field right now, this is different VR games and using VR as an educational stuff. Imagine what in actually less than in 5 years, or like in 10 years for certain, you will have educational programs which are movies in VR. So you have a mission.
So basically you have Yoda teaching you to do math.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So you go into the world, which is simulator, and all your tasks, they're all exercises. This is tasks in VR, which are highly entertaining and very effective because emotions makes you remember. And you can learn algebra, or you can learn geometry, or you can learn physics, chemistry living through the movie of your favorite franchise. That's going to be a big revolution in education and everything, because one thing when you try to teach a doctor in a classroom, and completely another thing when you teach a doctor in VR.
Okay, where he can operate
not only operate, like let's talk about psychologists when they actually can got their education through the simulation.
Oh, that's amazing. You have like an AI patient that you're trying to heal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You have a line of patients with different disorders, and you're supposed to simulate a conversation with them until you're gonna perform the really
that's
compelling.
gonna be so hard. Imagine you have to like pass a test by
Yeah.
convincing the AI that you're a good doctor.
From one hand, it's gonna be more entertaining. From other hand, it's gonna be like really hard because you're supposed to
excel.
You pass the test when you actually perform the task. Yeah.
But doesn't it run us into the risk of I'm sorry, I'm a huge sci-fi dork.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it mean we're running into something like WALL-E or Ready Player One type territory where you choose
absolutely
this virtual story over real life?
Absolutely. There were a big conference in Bay Area among tech companies, and 3 main movies which are gonna shape our reality in the future. This is The Matrix, Ready Player One, and Inception.
Really?
Yeah, those 3 movies gonna shape our reality. Actually, they're already shaping our reality.
What do you think of, off topic, what do you think of the last Matrix movie? If you've seen it.
Unlike a lot of people, actually liked it.
I liked it too. I think it was funny. They were sarcastic to themselves.
Yeah, I think it was a nice piece of a postmodern thing, like meta. It was a nice piece of a meta-modern. I loved it.
That's what I told all my friends that were. Everyone's a fan of the Matrix, right? The first one especially.
But
like, yeah, it was nothing like the first one. They weren't trying to change the world. They made another movie 20 years later for fun. You could tell they did it for fun, right?
Yeah, about their own experiences. I loved all these like schizophrenia-like movies.
Yeah.
I like schizophrenia-like sequences in Matrix. Then they doubt their own insanity, but they did different scenes.
I hope they didn't disappoint the producers or investors or whatever, so they're gonna make another one maybe.
They have a luxury of being absolutely not concerned about any financiers.
Okay, so the fuck you money, they have that. Okay,
yeah, they have that. They have it, so they can do whatever they want.
Okay, but now that we're shifting to more target-specific, content and stories, with it becoming smaller and more intimate, how does that influence the creation of them? Because that would probably mean you have to spend a lot more effort to target smaller audiences.
Yeah, that is another big trend about micro-influencers, because when social media just hit the ground, was a huge change in our social structure. But nowadays, people prone to be suspicious about big influencers. Like if some guy has millions of followers, probably this guy is totally dishonest about whatever he promotes. But for micro-influencers, they are more trustable. Micro-influencers that different people who has less than 1,000 followers. And they are considered to be much more trustable because it's like your friend who actually had some experience and he's honestly telling about his or her or their experience. So how to work with micro-influencers, this is the nowadays big thing.
But don't you, I'm going to ask you about another risk question. Don't you risk having like a big company owning all these micro-influencers, just like Sinclair that bought all the little TV stations in the US and then they actually are running the same story?
You know something about that. Yeah, that's started several years ago. Those influencers farms. They're people...
Influencer farms.
Yeah, okay. Influencer farms. There people grow up different artificial influencers and they put it to the social media, and after they see which one of them gonna grow organically, and after they start to put some effort into growing particularly these influencers. Sometimes they pose as real people, sometimes they already pose as some characters. Yeah, but all those movements were done Like they are already.
There's, especially now with all these AI that can make people, I think I read a news a few weeks ago, there's this famous photographer on Instagram who came out later. He said, I'm not that. It's a AI created account with all the pictures being created by AI. Everything absolutely is fake.
Yeah, a lot of people did that. A lot of people went to the trolling of different art critics or different humans who were 100% sure that artificial intelligence never can beat humans' creativity.
Yeah.
And
and lo and behold,
it was done in all possible places, flavors already.
So it's kind of like a Wild West, right? We're fighting each other.
It's
because we don't know what's real and what's not.
In animation industry in LA right now, that is the big no-no to work with artificial intelligence images, because they know how the thing works, and this thing is deeply rooted in libraries which were created by human artists, and after they just mix those bricks in different order. And we're gonna observe, like next several years, we're gonna observe how regulation will be created around it, how people will react on that, how artificial intelligence engineers who taking care about their creation, how they gonna behave. So that is a big interesting reality show we all gonna participate.
But an argument can be made that and actually one of my previous guests at the show said, in art, everything possible was created already. Mm-hmm. It's basically either one guy redrawing his own stuff or getting inspired from other stuff and kind of using those elements into his own art. So he made an argument that what AI is doing is the same thing. It takes whatever was ever created and it mixes stuff up, which kind of makes sense, no?
Is it, from one hand, every story, every movie, have the same structure. It's like every human has the same structure of a palm. Mm-hmm. Like mainly we have 5 fingers. Okay, some people have more fingers, but in general we're supposed to have 5 fingers. But we all have unique fingerprints. And our fingerprints, that is the play of randomness. And the same thing with AI. It can maintain a structure. Like there is a certain AI for screenwriting. It's a Google creation. We call it Dramatron. And that's the artificial intelligence as supposed to help writers to keep structure. Like, do not forget this character. Do not forget this character. Please, if you start this storyline, be sure.
So it aids you in your script,
it just
right?
It just help you to keep tracking of all your characters, of all your storylines. Also helps you to maintain the genre, different genre rules.
So it's like a consulting expert.
Yeah, so it's like a script doctor who is already attached to you, who is already included into your screenwriting software. So you have a artificial script doctor who is
like that pen thing from the Microsoft Word back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just this thing just waving to you, and there is time to make a point of no return for that character.
But that's helpful, right? Because sometimes you see a movie and at the end of it you're like, wait a minute, what happened to that guy? They never said anything. Or why did this story not hit the finish line?
Editing artificial intelligence, they do the same. They help to the editors to cut the movie.
There's AI for editing?
There is AI for now for everything, for storyboarding, for editing, to help screenwriters, whatever creative professional, name any creative professional that's going to be AI for this guy.
So that's good, right? It's scary because this AI could potentially take our work, right? It can basically potentially, hypothetically.
The things for certain they're gonna transform the way how we work, and but it's like the easiest way to explain it about medical things. Like there are a lot of medical AIs, like artificial intelligence that help to nurses and for doctors to do this paperwork, because paperwork took about from 40 to 60% of a doctor or nurse time. They spend in all this time not with patients, they spend this time filling the papers.
Yeah.
And there is the artificial intelligence who capable to help with all boring parts. Or let's say that you are a developer and what is the boring stuff in app development? That's the actual coding. And the actual coding, it's just a lot of similar things.
Yeah.
A lot of similar and
repetitive tasks.
Yeah. The AI for certain will take away all repetitive tasks. Whatever you can put in algorithm, that's in those fields of activity in danger. I like the book Kai-Fu, the guy from Google, and he's a Taiwanese tech prodigy. His name is Kai-Fu Lee. And he wrote a book, Artificial Intelligence Superpowers, like a superpowers of artificial intelligence. And that's the very, very accurate book about our very nearest future, how artificial intelligence gonna transform our world, different industries, and he has very detailed explanation what kind of professions are in danger of extinction and what kind of professions that's gonna create a lot of new professional fields, like people who train artificial intelligence, people who test artificial intelligence, people who set ethical boundaries for artificial intelligence, people who train other people to live in a new world.
I see artificial intelligence as in Despicable Me. You're Gru, and then you have a bunch of minions running around. You can tell them what to do. Like, you can do it yourself. Probably not. Like, we as humans, right? We're good at many things, but we're not probably the best at many things. We can be the best maybe at one thing. But then you have this tool who can make you the best at everything you want because you have this little bit of knowledge. And then if you're smart enough, so like I would really appreciate if there was, I don't know, a university degree where you learn to do prompts for AI, for like different kinds. Because I try to use all these AIs like Midjourney and DALL-E, and I look at some of the art that thing is created, and I look at what I told him to do, and like, I obviously told him the wrong stuff because this is ugly. Or it's not what I wanted. And then you look at the other pictures, so I'm like, the secret is actually knowing how and what to tell the thing to do.
Yeah. So you need to be very precise about your word choices. Yeah. So you still need to create a script. If you want to talk about AI and the future of AI and the future of data, you really need to invite my husband because that is his field of profession.
I would love to. How long are you here for?
You can ask him.
You trapped him. Now he can't say no because he's here.
Yeah, and he can speak Romanian.
Oh, cool. So the last question then is, how do you see this format creativity evolving into the long-term future? Like 20, 30 years from now?
There are a lot of concerns that people actually become less creative than before because creativity is something which we need when they are limited. Like you became creative when you limited on something. If you limited on money and you want to travel, you became very creative in your planning stuff, how you hunting the tickets, how you define the places.
So the hunger.
Yeah, so limitations actually boosts our creativity, and when they're surrounded with all these unlimited resources, it actually makes us less creative. This is a big concern about that. But I don't know, is it a good news or bad news? A lot of people keep telling us that pretty soon we're going to become very limited on the different types of resources, and that's going to boost our creativity again. So I think that's the question of choice. Would you like to believe that the future bring you boosts for your creativity, or future will make you dull and person without any hungers, any desires, because you're already pretty satisfied with everything.
Yeah, I really like that idea of being, I call it being bored. But one of my favorite authors, he brings the idea up of suffering is key to happiness. Like if you want to, I guess, unveil yourself, if you want to discover who you are, what your path is, you have to really suffer. Because that's when everything kind of breaks down and you have the chance, I guess. You might not have the ability, but you have the chance of rebuilding everything the way you want to.
Yeah, because through the evolution, the dopamine was our reward, and we supposed to have a dopamine boosts when we completed some hard tasks. Like if you were if you were hungry, if your tribe was hungry and you need to go to the hunt, and if you performed a great hunt and your tribe had a lot of meat, you got a lot of dopamine because you satisfied your hunger at first place. At the second place, you got a lot of feeling of social appreciation because if you're a good hunter, your tribe kind of really value your presence.
And now we hunt for likes.
Yeah, so the mechanism is the same. So we're supposed to fulfill something in order to feel ourselves happy. All other ways to feel yourself happy without performing hard tasks before, they all lead to addiction.
Or to, what's it called? Quiet quitting, right? Well, Lilia, it was a great pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming
nice conversation
to Moldova and to my podcast to talk about the future of storytelling. And I hope that, wherever we go, it's going to make us happier and not more miserable.
Thank you. We really will hope for good. I'm an optimist. I think that everything gonna be okay. Some stuff gonna be sad, but mainly it's gonna be okay.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.